We welcome in from ESPN and the co-host of a great podcast, Great Game or What, Tim Kurkjian joins us. Good morning, Tim.
Hi, fellas. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I have to ask you. First of all, I'm a big fan of the podcast that you do with your son. I think it's funny. It's people that have gotten to know your personality, the guests you have on. But did I hear correctly that you drive to your son's house in Philadelphia like 3+ hours to do the podcast?
Yeah, I'm 67 years old. I'm a complete dope when it comes to technology. My biggest fear in life is being trapped at home with technology surrounding me, and I can't figure out how to make it work. So my son, he's 30. He's a magician. He can figure all of this stuff out. So there's a great calm about me when I'm sitting next to him because if something goes wrong, he's going to fix it. Whereas if something goes wrong when I'm alone in the house, it's not good.
And isn't there just something, about covering baseball and being able to travel on the road? I mean, you can go and say there's just something about the road tripping too, right?
Yeah, I'm good in the car. I drive a lot. I like the serenity of the car. I have XM radio. I can listen to games. I can listen to talk shows, and I'm all by myself. Climate controlled Diet Mountain Dew in the car on the drive. So it's this is the life I've carved out for myself, but it works for me.
Hey, let's start with Bobby Witt Jr. As you know, because you've talked about it. Um, Baseball is in a really good spot right now with their young talent. The shortstop position is unbelievable, the amount of talent that is playing shortstop. But closer to home here in Omaha, Tim, as you know, Bobby Witt Jr. has become a must watch. He's 24. Royals made a great move in the offseason to lock him up. He was big last night in a game they had to win against Boston. But we're on August 8th, and we're going to be talking about the AL MVP race between a guy that is at shortstop for the Royals and then a New York Yankee. When it's all said and done and we maneuver through the next 2 months of the season, what will determine, you think, on who will win the American League MVP?
Yeah, it's a great race. And right now, with all due respect to everyone else, I think it's a two-man race. That's how good Judge and Bobby Witt have been. I'm a big believer, being a tired old man, that if you take your team into the playoffs, this is how we used to judge the MVP was, did you help your team win? Did you get them into the playoffs? I mean, Chipper Jones won his MVP in 1999 because he carried the Braves down the stretch into the playoffs, and people recognize that. So let's say Bobby Witt has this kind of season, OPS over 1,000, leads the league in hitting, and obviously, and is going to be a 30-30 guy this year.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes them into the playoffs, a team that won 56 games last year, and he is the best player on the team, clearly, then he's going to get a lot of votes. However, Aaron Judge is in the same spot. Where would the Yankees be without him?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to hit over 50 homers. So I think we have to watch and see how great these guys are down the stretch. That's how close the voting could be for this award.
You are obviously in these circles a lot more, but to kind of follow up on what Gary brings up with Bobby Witt Jr., I feel like lately a lot of the conversation has been about his ability to play. I think one of the best lines used last night when he was doing what he's doing was coming from the Red Sox broadcast, and they said baseball's not supposed to be this easy, but he's making it look that easy. Going into the year, I thought we'd be continuing to be mesmerized by Shohei Ohtani. The fact that Bobby Witt Jr. gets a lot of the conversation, even a guy like Aaron Judge, but even Shohei Ohtani, what does that say about not only what he's doing this year, but his presence in Major League Baseball going forward as we're looking for faces of this sport?
Yeah, the faces of the sport are everywhere, and three of them are shortstops: Gunnar Henderson, Ellie De La Cruz, and of course Bobby Witt Jr. This is why the game is in such good hands, because arguably the best of that group, Bobby Witt, not only knows how to play, he understands how everything works around the game because his father was a really good pitcher for a long time. So that's why I love where baseball is. And if we can follow the lead of a shortstop, a young shortstop who might be the fastest player in the league and nearly won the home run hitting contest at the All-Star game, I mean, that's precisely what we're looking for. And being a great defensive player also is crucial. So this is why I tell people for the last 12 years, I've never seen this kind of influx of young, athletic, ready players when they get to the big leagues, and they come every year. But this current wave with all the shortstops led by Bobby Witt, it is simply breathtaking to watch.
ESPN's Tim Kurkjian joining us here on 1620 The Zone. They got a big win last night, late night, in L.A. against the Dodgers. I'm talking about the Phillies, and Kyle Schwarber had a monster game. It is kind of the dog days of the season. The Phillies are still in a good spot. Tim, if you had to do your quick power rankings, who are a couple of teams that would not surprise you 3 months from now are getting ready to make a run to the World Series?
Well, you guys know all the usual suspects. I mean, the Dodgers, once they get healthy, are going to be dangerous. The Phillies are always dangerous. The Orioles are really good. The Yankees are getting better. You asked for a bit of a surprise. Just don't take your eyes off the Diamondbacks. They went to the World Series last year. This is a similar charge that they're making this year. They've basically been the best team in baseball certainly since the All-Star break, them and the Padres. They are a very dangerous team now that Eduardo Rodriguez is back. Merrill Kelly is coming back. Offensively, they have been devastating for the last couple of weeks. So this is why baseball is so beautiful, fellas. You can look at 6 or 7 or even 8 teams that maybe are even better than the Diamondbacks, and yet the 8th seed, let's call them for the moment, is really charging, and you cannot look past them because they're good enough to go back to the World Series again.
Tim, the more bad news for Mike Trout and having to be shelved yet again. When we have the conversation about Mike Trout, we know the type of player he is, the numbers that he's put up, what he's done when he's able to get through the majority of a season. This latest health development and setback, what type of conversations are we now having about Mike Trout?
Well, it's really discouraging because I love watching him play. He still is one of the best players in baseball when he's healthy, but he hasn't been healthy now the second half of the year for basically 5 years. So I think the question is he ever going to be healthy again to the point that we're going to look at him and say he's the best player in baseball? Because he essentially was for almost a 10-year period. Yeah. How many players have been the best player in baseball for that length of time? But so maybe we're not going to talk about him someday as the greatest player we've ever seen, because I saw Willie Mays play, and he's the greatest player I've ever seen. But that may just change the discussion, but it doesn't change the discussion. Is Mike Trout a Hall of Famer? The answer is an emphatic yes. His career ended today. He would be a Hall of Famer. I don't care how many times he's been hurt. Look at the body of work. It is amazing.
What's the moment that you went, wow, seeing Willie Mays play?
Well, I was 8 and I was hopelessly addicted to baseball already. And Willie Mays I was mesmerized by him, but we got a color television. And the first time, this is 1965, and the first time I ever watched a color television, we watched the 65 All-Star game, and Willie Mays hit a home run in living color to lead off the 65 All-Star game. And I went, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the greatest player anyone had ever seen to that point. And that's when I was completely lost in Willie Mays after that. And every single time I watched him on TV, because, again, you could only see him on TV once every 3 or 4 months. But once you saw him, it was appointment viewing. You would not miss a game in which Willie Mays played. That's how great he was.
Speaking of appointment viewing, we see the College World Series come through here every year. We see guys that shine on that stage. And when we hear their name drafted, weeks later, we're always curious at what time are we going to see them on the biggest of stages. It didn't take long for guys like Wyatt Langford, but especially now Paul Skenes, and what he has meant to not just the Pirates organization, but the must-see, the it factor for a guy that has just broken into the Major League Baseball. It wasn't that long ago, Tim, that he was in Omaha pitching against the Omaha Storm Chasers in AAA, and then now he's dominating at that level. Do you look at what he's doing right now and have any type of comp of, yeah, it reminds me of this, or he has this type of presence so early in someone's career?
Well, the best I can do is Fernando Valenzuela, and I've covered baseball so long. I actually was a tiny part of Fernando Mania. His first 8 starts in 1981, he completed all of them. He allowed 4 earned runs in 72 innings and threw 5 shutouts in 8 starts. That's how dominant he was. And the game had never seen, and the charisma and the whole Latino with Southern California, Mexico, it was just the most amazing thing you've ever seen. So now Paul Skenes is different because he's not allowed to go 9 innings. I think if we allowed him to go 9 innings, he would. He certainly throws a lot harder than Fernando Valenzuela did, but I think Skenes has passed Steven Strasburg and basically everyone else, and we have to go back, 43 years to find a comp for him. That's how dominant and how much presence he has had so far in his major league career.
Great stuff. Tim, we appreciate your time as always and the conversation. We're big fans, and we look forward to doing this again as maybe we get closer to the postseason.
Okay, fellas, thank you.